Hey guys, tonight we journey into the frozen, bone-cracking cold of the Eastern Front during World War II. You're not just watching history, you're inside it now. Snowflakes drift lazily through pine branches above, but the stillness is deceptive. Beneath your boots, the frost is hard as iron, and beyond the trees, a line of tanks purrs low like hungry metal beasts. You're crouched behind a log in western Belarus, June 1941, clutching a rifle you barely know how to clean. The leaves haven't yet changed, but something in the air tells you they never will. You can feel the tension rise from the ground like steam. It's the prelude to something massive. And yes, you probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You don't hear the German soldiers at first, the crackle of a distant radio, the squeak of tank treads. These things merge with the early morning wind. You're just a Soviet conscript, barely trained and already cold, standing under spruce trees that smell faintly like Christmas, which is both comforting and deeply ironic. Then the world explodes. Operation Barbarossa begins not with warning, but with flame. Stukas scream overhead, sounding like the end of the world. And maybe it is. Trees shatter, earth leaps skyward, and your hearing is instantly fuzzy. You crouch instinctively, heart hammering like a jackrabbit's, while the sky peels open with fire. You're alive. For now. That's the metric on the Eastern Front. You can't see much through the smoke. All you know is that someone's shouting in German and someone else is screaming in Russian, and well, you're somewhere in the middle, clutching a rifle that's older than you and trying not to vomit. Historians still argue whether Stalin truly believed Hitler would betray the non-aggression pact. But from the sound of the bombs, you're guessing that was wishful thinking. You think of your mother, of your dog, of your bed, of how dumb war propaganda posters look compared to the very real, very warm trickle running down your leg. You stumble forward, orders barked from somewhere behind, and find yourself in a shallow trench. Another soldier, older, hands you a cigarette. He doesn't speak. You don't ask questions. You light it with shaky fingers. It tastes like dust and fear. He winks at you like he's in on the joke, but you're not sure what the punchline is. The attack doesn't stop. German soldiers sweep forward like water, flooding across fields and forests in that early morning push. You try to shoot, but your rifle jams. You beat it against the trench wall like it personally betrayed you. A bullet zips past your ear, and you forget how to breathe. There's a cow nearby, just standing there, totally unfazed. Maybe deaf, maybe enlightened. You consider following it. You don't. You run instead, through mud, blood, and snowflakes that never seem to melt. The forest is thick, but not thick enough to hide you. A branch catches your helmet. You keep going. Later, when things slow down, just slightly, you find yourself crouched in a ditch with a dozen others. Someone passes around a metal flask. It smells like paint thinner and burns like betrayal, but you drink it anyway. You hear talk of a counterattack, of reinforcements, of they'll never make it past Smolensk. But you're not listening. You're counting your fingers. You're staring at your boots. You're wondering why you didn't become a mailman instead. A kid nearby, can't be more than 16, starts humming a lullaby. No one tells him to stop. One guy even starts humming along. It's surreal, but maybe that's what keeps people from going mad. And then night falls. It's too dark to see anything, so you lie back in the mud and stare up at the stars. Somewhere far above, they're untouched by war. But down here, every tree feels like it's watching you. Every gust of wind feels like it's whispering your name. You pull your coat tighter, even though it's as thin as a newspaper. You drift off for a few seconds, maybe minutes. You're not sure. A rat walks across your foot, and you don't even flinch. That's how tired you are. That's how strange your new normal has become. A few meters away, someone coughs, then goes silent. You don't ask. You don't move. You just lie there, eyes open, body humming with adrenaline and dirt and dread. In the morning, you'll march again, westward, eastward, sideways. Who knows? But for now, you lie still, trying to remember the taste of your mother's soup and the feel of bed sheets and whether or not you used to be afraid of the dark. You march. That's all you seem to do now, march through mud, over shattered roads, across fields that used to grow wheat and now grow nothing but boots and bullet casings. You've stopped asking questions about where you're headed. East, west. You couldn't tell even if the sun cooperated, which it doesn't. It just hangs there, dim and indifferent. Like it's tired of this war too. Your pack is too heavy, your boots are too thin. Your coat smells like old potatoes and fear sweat. You march past the husks of burnt villages where even the chickens look traumatized. The buildings don't burn anymore. They just smolder endlessly, like they're embarrassed to still exist. Occasionally, a truck sputters past, loaded with ammunition or men, but mostly it's foot traffic. Thousands of you, all just slightly out of step, too cold and too tired to care about rhythm. The guy in front of you has a limp. The guy behind you hums something that sounds vaguely like a funeral march. You try to whistle, but your lips are cracked from the cold. You pass a signpost. The names are in Cyrillic and then German spray paint. You're not sure which is more depressing. Someone scribbled a cartoon mustache on Stalin's face. No one laughs. You pause only when absolutely necessary. Sometimes to dig a shallow trench, sometimes to eat whatever passes for food that day. Usually black bread if you're lucky. Once you get a piece of meat that might be beef, but might also be dog, you don't ask. You just chew and pretend it tastes like something from home. A horse dies next to the road. It just collapses, like even it has had enough of the war. You watch a few men slice it open without ceremony. Fresh meat. You look away, then look back. You eat some. It's still warm. It tastes like regret. Historians still argue whether the German supply lines were doomed from the start, or just doomed because no one thought Russia had that much mud. But you don't need a textbook to know the truth. You just need to look down. Your boots are sinking again. You try to lift your foot and nearly lose the whole shoe. You curse softly. The soldier next to you offers a stick for leverage. You nod, silently thanking him, and wonder if you'd do the same. He tells you his name is Anton. You forget it immediately. The landscape is beautiful in a tragic, oil-painting way. Rolling hills, distant smoke, skies that go on forever. But the beauty makes it worse somehow, like the earth is trying to stay innocent while humans ruin everything. One morning, you wake up to frost on your eyebrows. Not just your mustache, your actual eyebrows. Your canteen is frozen solid. You chew on snow and pretend it hydrates you. Your breath comes out in clouds, and you joke that maybe you'll survive just long enough to open an ice cream cart in Moscow. Nobody laughs, probably because it's minus 12 degrees. A convoy of tanks rattles past, heading toward the front. You try not to stare too long at the crew riding on top. They look smug, or maybe just warm. One of them is playing an accordion. It sounds like weeping. Your platoon stops to rest in what used to be a schoolhouse. Desks overturned, chalkboard riddled with bullet holes. You try to read what's still written on it in ghostly chalk. Comrades, we must protect the motherland. You sit in a child's desk and wonder if anyone ever taught math here. Then you fall asleep. You wake to shouting. Always shouting. You think it's orders, but your brain takes a moment to reboot. The Soviets have repositioned overnight. Your march is cancelled, or maybe resumed. You're not sure. You just follow the boots ahead of you. Your feet ache like they've been replaced with bricks. Blisters open and reseal with every step. Someone gives you a square of cloth to wrap around one foot. It smells like kerosene. You use it anyway. One guy tries to desert, just slips off toward the trees when no one's looking. 2 hours later, he's dragged back by partisans. He's missing a boot. And his dignity. You don't look him in the eye. Neither does anyone else. The march goes on. You hear rumors of a big city ahead. Minsk, or maybe Mogilev. You're not sure. It doesn't matter. Every place now looks like the last. Broken, burned, haunted. You pass a cemetery that was bombed into a trench. A dog sits by one of the shattered gravestones. Just sits there. Maybe it's guarding someone, or maybe it just doesn't know where else to go. You give it a crust of bread. It doesn't move. You find a harmonica in an abandoned farmhouse. No one knows how to play, but you pretend anyway. The sound is off-key and sad, but it's something. Someone nods in approval. You pass it around like a relic. It's the most joy you've seen in days. At one rest stop, you meet a soldier who swears he's seen Rasputin's ghost in the woods. Says it gave him a cigarette and cursed the entire Third Reich. You don't believe him, but you wish it were true. You'd follow that ghost anywhere if it meant going home. You end the day in a half-dug trench, gnawing on bread that's half mold and half memory. Your socks are damp again. You wring them out, place them on your chest to dry. Someone jokes that maybe your chest will dry from the socks instead. You actually chuckle. As night falls, snow starts again. Quiet, patient, inevitable. You pull your coat tighter and whisper a prayer. Not to survive, but just to sleep without dreaming of boots, mud, or the sound of marching feet. You're hungry. Not the kind of hunger that goes away with a biscuit or two. This is the kind of hollow that feels stitched into your bones. You've learned by now that war isn't just bullets and bombs. Sometimes it's going 4 days on boiled potato peels and thinking about licking tree bark. Your stomach grumbles so loudly, the guy next to you swats at it like it's a mosquito. You don't apologize. Instead, you pull out the shriveled bit of black bread you've been hoarding since the last supply drop and stare at it like it owes you money. Anton, the same soldier who saved your boot from the mud, sits beside you, poking something with a stick. It's a frozen turnip. Victory. He lets out a theatrical gasp like he's just discovered gold. You both take turns gnawing on it. It tastes like sadness and frost. It's here, crouched in the ruins of a shed, that you get your first taste of frontline vodka. Some guys call it liquid fire. Others call it courage in a bottle. Mostly it just smells like paint thinner and feels like regret. But when it burns down your throat and floods your chest with a brief shaky warmth, you get it. You get why they keep drinking. You feel invincible for exactly 7 minutes. Around the fire, the stories start. Always the same kind. About home, about girls, about the time someone punched an officer and survived. You share a story about your mother's beet soup. You exaggerate the flavor, the warmth, the way it used to steam up the kitchen windows. The others nod like they've tasted it too. Suddenly, someone shushes the group. A twig snapped. Everyone goes quiet. There's a moment, just a moment, where the only sound is the crackle of the fire and your own heartbeat. Then the rustling starts. Leaves, movement. You grip your rifle, eyes scanning the dark tree line, and then they vanish. Partisans, Soviet guerrillas, ghosts in the forest. You don't see them, but you know they're watching. One guy swears he saw movement, a flash of red cloth. Another says he heard breathing. Maybe it's paranoia, or maybe not. Historians still argue whether partisan resistance was strategically impactful or more of a psychological thorn. You, however, just call it terror with a slingshot. They strike fast, vanish faster, and leave nothing behind but empty supply crates and the occasional misplaced shoe. You wake up the next morning to find someone's rations missing. You all pretend not to notice. There's an unspoken rule now. If you catch someone stealing food, you don't say anything. You just hide yours better. You're told there's an abandoned village up ahead, might be some supplies. You hike through snow that comes up to your calves. The village is more abandoned in the ghost story sense than the vacation home sense. Everything is too quiet, too still. Doors hang open like the houses themselves are gasping. Inside one cottage, you find a pantry with a single potato. One. Just sitting there like it's been waiting for you. You cradle it like a newborn, show it off to Anton, and do a ceremonial victory dance that includes 2 steps and a rolled ankle. Worth it. There's also a journal left behind by whoever lived here last. You flip through it, not understanding every word, but you see drawings. A rooster, a child, a loaf of bread. The simplicity guts you more than any battle has. You leave it on the table. Some stories aren't yours to finish. In another house, someone finds a bottle. Clear liquid, no label. You all gather around, sniffing it like it's perfume. You take sips. It's definitely vodka. Probably either that or industrial cleaner. But it kicks, and that's what matters. Later, around the fire, someone sings a folk song about the Volga River. The lyrics are nonsense, but the melody sticks to your ribs better than the bread did. For a brief moment, the war feels far away. That night, as you curl up in what used to be someone's bedroom, you find a child's toy under the bed. A carved wooden horse, cracked but intact. You pick it up, turn it over in your hands, and wonder about the kid who used to gallop it across these floorboards. You place it on the windowsill, facing out like it's standing guard. You fall asleep that night with a belly not quite empty, a buzz in your limbs, and the faintest smile curling at the edge of your lips. Then the shelling starts. The windows shatter inward, the walls rattle, and all the warmth you'd built up vanishes in a heartbeat. You dive under a table, heart slamming, as debris rains down like judgment. You don't scream. You just breathe, slowly, evenly, like the war can't find you if you're quiet enough. When the barrage ends, there's silence again. No cries, no orders, no footsteps. Just the eerie calm of a forest that's learned to expect chaos. You crawl out, coughing. Outside, the others are doing the same. No one's dead. This time, you all exchange glances that say, yeah, that's just life now. The toy horse is gone. You never hear another partisan that night, but you also never find that potato again. Someone jokes that the horse took it. You all laugh louder than you should. Maybe because it's funny, maybe because you're all a little broken. Before sunrise, Anton pulls out something from his coat. A biscuit. Where he got it, you don't ask. He breaks it in half and hands it to you. Happy breakfast, he says. You eat slowly, savoring each dry, chalky bite like it's your last. Because out here, it very well might be. You wake up on the back of a Panzer. That is, someone else wakes you up on the back of a Panzer because apparently you fell asleep on the engine cover and no one wants to pry your half-frozen body off the steel again. You're not even part of the tank crew, just hitching a ride. That's the Eastern Front for you. No rules, just cold metal, cracked boots, and someone shouting in German. The tank rumbles across the plains like a mechanical ogre. It's loud, deafening. The vibrations travel up your spine and make your teeth feel like tuning forks. You grip the handle welded to the side and try not to slide off every time it hits a ditch, which is about every 3 meters. Inside the turret, the crew is playing cards and arguing about whose turn it is to clean the gun breech. You get the feeling they've done this a lot. One of them throws you a crust of bread without looking up. You mutter thanks and stuff it into your coat pocket for later. The heat from the engine keeps your boots from going fully numb, but it also smells like oil, sweat, and something vaguely pork-like. You don't ask. Tank warfare, you quickly learn, is not as glamorous as the newsreels make it seem, especially not when you're clinging to the side like a desperate barnacle. The terrain is miserable, swampy, jagged, and full of surprises, including the occasional mine crater that turns your ride into a surprise roller coaster. The Germans call this area Die Straße des Todes, the Road of Death. Charming, right? Historians still debate whether the Wehrmacht's heavy reliance on mechanized units helped or hindered their eastern campaign. You just know the ride is bumpy, the gas smells are real, and the guy next to you is holding a live chicken under his coat for reasons you don't want to understand. Up ahead, smoke rises from a village you're not sure still exists. It's supposed to be friendly territory, but that's just a theory, like unicorns or edible rations. As you approach, the tank slows. The gunner shouts something and points. You squint, and that's when you hear it. A low, growling thunder rising from the tree line like a beast awakening. T-34s. The Soviet tanks roll into view like shadows with teeth. Fast, sloped, menacing. One of them has a red star painted so fresh it's still dripping. There's no warning, no negotiations, just instant chaos. The gunner inside your ride yells and swings the turret. The boom of the cannon shakes the sky. You're thrown backward, nearly losing your grip as the recoil slams through the vehicle. Smoke pours from the barrel. You duck instinctively, clinging to the hatch, and try not to become a hood ornament for history. The T-34s fire back. One shot goes wide, another slams into a different Panzer, sending it spinning into a tree line. The sound is unreal, like the earth cracking its knuckles. You jump off. The moment your boots hit the ground, you're running. Not away, there's no away anymore, but sideways, through a ditch, across a frozen stream, boots slipping like cartoon pratfalls. Bullets hiss over your head like angry insects. You duck into a barn, slam the door shut, and immediately regret it. There's a dead cow inside, and it's not alone. You count 2 other soldiers hiding in the hay, neither of whom you recognize. One nods at you and hands over a flask. No words, just shared misery. You take a swig. Vodka. Of course, everything here is either broken, frozen, or vodka. The tank battle rages for what feels like hours, but is probably just 20 minutes. When it dies down, you creep out, rifle at the ready. The air smells like burning oil and metal. One Panzer is flipped on its side. A T-34 is still smoking, its hatch blown clean off. You don't look inside. Your ride is gone, exploded. Shrapnel like flower petals across the field. You blink at the spot where you were napping less than an hour ago. That chicken, gone too. You feel bad, mostly for the chicken. You walk past what used to be a battlefield and is now a junkyard of war. Bent steel, torn canvas, scattered boots. One helmet sits perfectly upright on the ground. You consider taking it. You don't. Feels like bad luck. You eventually find a road and follow it, hoping it leads somewhere with fewer explosions and marginally better soup. Instead, it leads to a checkpoint, German-held. You're waved through after some suspicious glares. Apparently, covered in mud and tank grease, now passes as a uniform. That night, you sleep in a barn again, but this one has fewer corpses and better hay. You share the space with 5 others, including a radio operator who keeps rewiring his equipment with chewing gum. He insists he once picked up a broadcast from Paris and swears they played Edith Piaf. Someone else finds a tin of sardines. Actual sardines. They become the centerpiece of a dinner feast so tragic and desperate, it deserves a violin soundtrack. You each get half a fish. You chew slowly, eyes closed, pretending you're at a French cafe. There's talk of another offensive tomorrow. Always another offensive. The front shifts daily, like a tide that only carries misery. You're told to prepare, which out here means patching your coat with wire and eating snowflakes for hydration. Before sleep, Anton pulls out something from his pocket. It's a photograph, creased, stained, faded. A woman holding a baby. He doesn't say anything, just shows it to you, then puts it back. You both lie there, backs to the wall, rifles by your side, listening to the faint crackle of the radio and the moan of distant engines. Outside, the frost sets in again. Tanks are quiet now. So are you.